Welcome to IFRS Meaning. Today, we will talk about the accounting recognition of right-of-use assets depreciation.
Right-of-use asset depreciation is the systematic allocation of the asset's initial cost over the useful life of the lease. Let's see a practical example. In January of year 1, an entity leases a machine for 10 years. The contract establishes that the lessee must pay an annual sum of $400,000 to be able to use the property for a period of time set out in the lease. The discount rate is 11%. In this case, the initial recognition of the right-of-use asset will be made up of the present value of the lease payments in the contract, using a discount rate of 11%. So, the initial cost of the right-of-use asset is equal to $2,355,693. This value is the result of the following operation. The accounting recognition will be a debit to the right-of-use asset and a credit to the contract liability for the same value. The next step will be to recognize the first year of right-of-use asset depreciation. For this, we will divide the asset's initial cost by the contract's useful life. This operation results in a right-of-use asset depreciation expense for the first year of $235,569. However, right-of-use asset depreciation must be recognized differently if any of the following situations occur. On the one hand, if the lease will transfer the ownership of the underlying asset to the lessee at the end of the lease term, or on the other hand, if the cost of the right-of-use asset reflects that the lessee will exercise a purchase option. So let's examine a series of examples to understand these two exceptions. In January of year 1, an entity leases a warehouse for 30 years and an annual rental fee of $300,000. The agreement establishes that the asset will become the lessee's property at the end of the contract. The useful life of the asset is 40 years. In this case, according to paragraph 32 of IFRS 16, the right-of-use asset depreciation will be from the beginning of the lease until the end of the useful life of the underlying asset. Taking the same example as a reference, we will assume that at the end of the lease, a purchase option is established for $500,000. In such a situation, the lessee shall depreciate the right-of-use asset from the contract inception date to the end of the asset's useful life or to the end of the lease term, whichever comes first. In this way, the entity must depreciate the right-of-use asset over 30 years in this second scenario. However, if the right-of-use asset's useful life is shorter in this case, the entity must take this useful life as a reference to calculate the right-of-use asset depreciation. I hope that with this explanation, you have understood how the accounting recognition of the depreciation of a right-of-use asset is.
Finally, if you want to learn IFRS, be an expert and make a difference, we remind you to review our course on International Financial Reporting Standards. The course has more than 270 explanatory videos, more than 370 analysis questions, personalized advice, and real-world examples and cases. In the video description, you can find all the course information. Cheer up, and take your professional career to the next level.